Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I am sitting here with CU04, a fellow Carlisle United YouTube channel, to review the transfers from this summer. This is part two. Part one will be available on the CU04 YouTube channel. So I highly recommend you go and watch that video first or after you've watched this one. But yeah, mate, how are you getting on?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Very big thank you for having me. I think it's a really good concept we've came up with for this sort of transfer window. But really cool working with you and really cool being on the channel. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're too generous with the idea we came up with there. This is very much all all your idea. But yeah, no, it's an honor to have you on. I think you're only the something like the third guest we've had on the Blue Army TV channel. But yeah, it's great to do this thing. And we'll start things off right away with signing number 7, with the first 6 being done on your channel, and that is starting off as backup goalkeeper, now first choice goalkeeper, is Jokel Anderson on loan from Reading for the season. Yeah, what I've given this one a 6 out of 10 because he's a bit of an unknown quantity. He looked shaky in his first game at Port Vale. Um, but yeah, I'm not really sure on him yet. I think he is here to be our number one for this season. I think Paul Simpson really made the statement of dropping Thomas Hawley now and starting Jokel Anderson or Anderson. Is it Anderson or Anderson? I think it's Anderson, isn't it? But
And
yeah,
Russell,
what do you
yeah.
yeah, what are your thoughts on this one? Because it's one that's been very heavily debated amongst the Carlisle United community.
Yeah, very similar to you. I went with a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
Because I think we absolutely needed a goalkeeper, whether that was going to be a starting or a backup goalkeeper. Um, Obviously Paul Simpson has made the point very clear that he wants to start him, the confidence of getting a clean sheet against Shrewsbury will hopefully be good for him. To be honest, I thought he looked a little shaky against Shrewsbury as well. I think
yeah,
I don't want to say created problems for himself, but I think the problems that he made were self-inflicted and not really anything the Shrewsbury were doing. But it could just be, he's took over from Thomas Hawley quite quickly and maybe just needs a couple of games to settle into it and stuff like that. But as I say, I think we needed a goalkeeper, regardless if he was going to be a backup or a starter. I'm a bit surprised he's starting because I'm a big fan of Thomas Hawley myself. But it's definitely an upgrade on Mick Kelly. I don't think
yeah.
Kelly would.
No offense to Mick Kelly, but you are right.
Yeah, I don't think Kelly would have made the jump from League Two to League One. And maybe in Simpson's plan when we signed Kelly was that we weren't supposed to be in League One this season, and then obviously
Yeah.
we got promoted and Kelly was out. But yeah, I've went with a 7 out of 10 because we needed a goalkeeper, and he seems quite a funny character. Um, in the dressing room, which is obviously what you need. And the lads seem to have a really good bond anyway. So you don't want to bring in a character that's going to disrupt that. But from what I've seen in videos of him, even at Reading and stuff, he seems like a pretty, fun, upbeat guy. So yeah, I've put him 7 out of 10 on that one.
Yeah, it's points well made from both sides there, but he's very much a one that I feel like we're either going to be making him a higher rating at the end of the season or a much lower rating. He's one of the ones that it's really too early to sort of make too much of a judgment on. But one that
Yeah.
we do have a lot of experience in is our next player, right back, Finn Back, again on loan from Nottingham Forest. He's a lot more of a known quantity. He is the player that helped us get promoted last season. Obviously riddled with injuries, but in my opinion, he's been one of our best players this season, and he's my only and my first 10 out of 10 on this list because I just don't think I think he's one of the best right backs in League Two as it stands. He's so good defensively, he's so good going forward as well. For me, he's just a bit of quality that we really needed to have in the team.
Yeah. So we discussed before this video about we both had a 10 out of 10. Um, I've went a 3 out of 10 for no, I haven't really. I've went 10 out of 10 as well. Uh, I think this is one of the best signings of the
Yeah,
obviously it's a 10 out of 10, so it's one of the best signings, but he's just a top player, isn't he? He's absolutely class. He I just the injuries are slight little asterisks that I'm a bit concerned about if he was to get injured again. Obviously, Jack Ellis can step up quite easily, but I, that's my only asterisk with it. But I think in terms of a right back and a right wing back, I think Finn Back's that man. I think he's top. I think when we signed him, I was a bit like, I'm not surprised because we signed most loan players from last season, but I was very happy when I seen him because he was quite late on, wasn't he? He wasn't one of the early birds.
Yeah, the only problem with it is that he wasn't on a permanent deal, but I don't really think we can wish for that. But for me, he's one that I'm so glad Nottingham Forest didn't get relegated because if they had been relegated, I can't imagine we'd have got him on loan.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so for me, definite 10 out of 10. The only sort of, as you mentioned, asterisks being his injuries and, mine of, I wish we'd got him on a permanent, but that seems very unrealistic with the level of player he is at such a young age.
Yeah,
We've got our own brilliant backup youth player in Jack Ellis covering him, but you know there is just a certain quality that Finback has over Jack Ellis. Jack Ellis might develop that in time, but for me, Finback's probably one of the first names on the team sheets when he's completely fit. Would you agree with that?
yeah, absolutely. I think when I do my preview videos, you do Finn Back and then Jack Armour. They're the two first names on the team sheet for me.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this the other day. If you take Owen Moxon out of the team, I think our two fullbacks are probably the most, if you talk about transfer value, the most valuable players that we've got at the club. I genuinely think Finback and Jack Ellis are probably more valuable than the rest of the team,
Yeah,
combined even. They're just that good and they're both still so young. Fortunately Jack Armour is ours, but Finback we're not going to get the money for if he was to go somewhere with him being on loan. But I just think they're that good, our two fullbacks, and they are, yeah, like you said, they're the first names on the team sheets. But moving on to somebody who his team sheets look a bit far away from at the minute, and that's the re-signing of Ben Barkley, who at the minute hasn't really had a look in League One.
that's an
He started some preseason games, but yeah, what are your
excellent
thoughts on Ben
transition.
Barkley? Oh, thank you.
Excellent transition that was. That was brilliant. Um,
But yeah, what are
yeah,
your thoughts on him?
I, you know, I like wrote the list of all the players that we had signed earlier this week, and I had put injury form with a question mark, and this week he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So I think that's sums it up for me. I went with a 5 out of 10 on Ben Barkley.
Ditto. Yeah, so
I think it's a really odd one, and I think that goal against Brad. Don't get me wrong, that goal against Bradford was like absolutely like elite. That was like you're not going to get a better you know
yeah. I mean, it's
re-
up there, like somewhere there.
there we are.
I mean, the print behind me, it's one of the most iconic moments in my time following Carlisle. He's definitely got the memories as a Carlisle player,
Yeah, but
but I'm
yeah,
just not sure on him re-signing and making the step up to League One. Like you mentioned, the injury proneness of him, and as well with some of the other centre backs we've got now, he just seems like a little bit away from him getting anywhere near the starting 11 like he did last season.
yeah, absolutely. I think the as I said, I mean, it probably one of the best moments of Brunton Park that I've witnessed as well.
Yeah,
But I think without that goal, did we re-sign Ben Barkley? Possibly not. I think, as you
possibly
said,
not. Yeah,
with the centre backs, I think we've got obviously, Mellish, Lavelle, and Hunt. They're your starting three. Um, Not to sort of be that person who compares players in the team, but I personally prefer Corey Whelan to Ben Barkley. That's just
yeah,
my
I'd agree with
opinion.
that. Yeah.
Uh, and as I say, he's injured now for a few weeks, which isn't ideal. But I think we kind of, when we signed him, we knew that he was that injury prone sort of player. But give him time, and hopefully he can come in. I think as a positive about him, he can sort of play that right back role as well. He's a bit versatile in the defence. Not for me, I'd prefer him in centre back. I'm not a fan of him in sort of the right back role, but it,
Yeah, absolutely. And you think as well with Jack Ellis at right back, he's not necessarily, you don't need that cover, in my opinion. You don't really need him to ever sort of make that sacrifice of going into right back because we've got such good cover there already.
Yeah, yeah. But if it was needed, of course, he does. He can play that role. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with sort of the mid range, sort of 5 out of 10. I'm not thrilled with it, but I'm not gutted with it.
Yeah, what it looks like on paper to me is that Stockport didn't want him back, especially after the playoff final. I think there was a little bit of bad blood there between them, with him sort of posting celebrations, of them getting promoted against his parent club,
Yeah,
which I don't think really went down well with the Stockport fans and the board. But for me, they were willing to get rid of him for free. He was very much willing to come back to Carlisle with the memories he'd made the season prior. He was just a box ticked as a sort of thing of Paul Simpson's like, look, we've got a player here who we can get for very cheap that wants to be here that fills that backup centre back role. Let's just go and get him because he's an easy option that doesn't really take up too much of our budget.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. I think as just a sort of final point on it as well, I've got no problem with him celebrating the playoff win because Stockport didn't want him.
Oh
So
no, absolutely not. It
why
was great
not?
for Carlisle fans' point of view.
Yeah. And do you think as well? I thought this at the time when Stockport had their released and retained list and they retained Ben Barkley. Do you think they did that so Carlisle were coming for a bid for Barkley and then Carlisle weren't sort of wanting to pay for him? And then they were like, right, we're just going to cut ties. And then all of a sudden he's a Carlisle player the next day.
Yeah, I think it was more necessarily the fact that he was already on a contract there, and they just hadn't got around to releasing him yet. I think they were never really intended on keeping him.
Yeah.
I don't we didn't pay any money, did we? I think it was very much a
Yeah, it was a free signing. Yeah.
free signing. So I don't think Carlisle, being the stingy club we are, we're ever going to pay money for him. But we have got him in the end. So all's well that ends well.
Yep.
Um, but moving on to our next signing, it's another one that I'm very much back and forward on. It's Danny Butterworth. Former Port Vale player. He had a decent spell at Port Vale last season. They seemed to like him and were a little bit disappointed they didn't go back there. But again, not really getting too much of a look in at Carlisle. Still young, good pedigree playing for Blackburn. For me, is one that I think could come good, but there's just no space in the team for him at the minute.
Absolutely. Yeah. That bang on with that, really. I think. Yeah, I didn't know much of him when we signed him, to be honest. I don't really know much of him now, to be honest, because I haven't really seen him.
Because I haven't seen him play.
I think I've seen him for. Did he come on against Exeter maybe for 5 minutes? Or okay, he's came on once a couple of
Yeah,
times
he's
at
made a,
Upton
he's made a
Park.
substitute appearance, but he's never really done anything of too much note.
Yeah, I'm not massively keen on this one, to be honest. As you say, he hasn't really touched the team. I believe he's quite injury prone as well. I might be mistaken on that, but he seems to be another player that can, carry an injury. Maybe a bit like a Brendan Dickinson was. He seemed to came
Yes,
in for a
yeah,
few weeks and then he was out again. But my main point with this one is, where does he play? Is he a winger? Is he a midfielder? Is he a striker? I I
that's
can't.
the thing. No one knows. Not
Yeah,
even him. Not even himself. He's played all of the above. For me, I thought he was brought in to be sort of that Sean Maguire backup, that sort of similar sort of Lincoln player kind of striker that necessarily isn't your typical target man, but he's played as an attacking midfielder. He's played as a winger, which obviously doesn't fit into our system. He's one for me that I just don't see where he's going to play. I've gone with a 6 out of 10, but the more I think about it, the more I want to kind of downgrade that to a 5. I think there is something there with him. Port Vale fans, when we signed him, mentioned that he lacked a little bit of discipline. You could see there was little bits of quality there, and he was exciting. But at the end of the day, he either dropped a 10 out of 10 or a 3. He was just that inconsistent. Maybe Paul Simpson thinks he can get the best out of him, and it's a long season. And he's gonna need that extended squad. But for me, I don't think he plays too much this season. I hope he proves me wrong and has a great season, gets double figures and whatever. But for me, with Sean Maguire being ahead of him as one of our best players, it just doesn't look likely that he's going to get on the team sheet.
yeah. You went with a 6. I've actually halved your rating. I went with a 3 out of 10 on this one.
Oh, Jesus.
I know it's the lowest I've went. But I just he could be a class player, and as you said, if he proves me wrong, I'll eat my words. Absolutely, I have no problem with that. But I just don't see where he fits in the team. at all. I can't see him the position wise. Like as you say, we don't have sort of the wingers. If we did, we probably would have kept Amari Patrick. You know, I can't see him
Yes.
going in
Yeah,
that
very true.
attacking midfield role because McCarmon's there. Moxon's probably more of a central mid than an attacking mid, but Moxon plays that role as he can play that role as well. I
Yeah.
think
And I mean,
Joe,
I'll argue up there player of the season, Jordan Gibson. It's hard to.
I
I know
was
he has been taken out of the team, but it's hard to take him out of the team.
yeah, that was my next one. Gibson obviously plays that sort of
Yeah.
midfield sort of striker role, and I out of them three names I've mentioned, and then obviously you've got your Sean Maguire and your other strikers. I don't see him really getting near the team if I'm being honest. But as I say, if we come back to this in February and he's class, I'll eat my words happily. But yeah, I went with a 3 out of 10. I've been maybe being a bit harsh there, but
Yeah, I think I am going to knock mine down to a five then, just to get them a little bit closer because you have kind of made me realize that yeah, he's not even getting on the bench most weeks, is he?
no,
And it's a difficult one because, like Port Vale fans said, there is something there. I remember seeing him in pre-season; he didn't really impress me too much. But
yeah,
we're just going to have to move on from this one because once again, there's not too much to say about him. Um, I was going to go on to Coyote next, but I think we'll end with a bang and leave him to last, and we'll go on to Dylan McGeoch, or however you want to pronounce it. I've seen 100 different magical fancy ways of pronouncing his name, and I doubt any of them are anywhere near right. But yeah, McGeoch, Magooch, whatever you want to call him, I've given him a 7 out of 10. He started the season injury prone, but he's one that I really like. Forest Green Rovers player of the season last year. Yes, they got relegated, but to come in January and get you the player of the season, it shows that he did have some kind of quality about him. He
yeah,
impressed me in
captain as well.
pre-season. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. To come in January and become club captain, it just shows you how wrong things must have been going at Forest Green at the time. But for me, um, he's got a big job of getting into that midfield. But I think when he's fit, he's excellent backup to the Callum Guy role. Some of the passes he played in pre-season were amazing. You can tell he is a League One quality player if we can keep him fit. Although that is a big if for me. I think he's going to be a good sign. And yes, he hasn't started the season due to injury, but when he comes in, I think he'll, as much as I like Callum Guy, he will give Callum Guy a run for his money in that position. And I can see there being parts of the season where he starts over Guy, if he can pick up his form he got from last season, that is.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I think I've settled with like McGeoch. I think that's what I've went with. I think
Yeah.
the amount of times I put him in Google Translate just to listen to it, and then I still say it wrong. But yeah, McGeoch, I think is what I've settled with there. I think I'm with you really. I went with a 6 out of 10, just a little bit lower. Just on the basis of obviously we do have that asterisk again with sort of injury
With
prone,
injury. Yeah.
um, and the fact that I think Callum Guy is excellent. I don't see him.
Oh, same, absolutely. I think I've maybe sold Callum Guy a little bit short in that. I just think he is. We've got two very good players in the same position. I feel like I kind of slated Callum Guy a little bit there. That wasn't what I was intending to say. I think Callum Guy will probably be first choice, but Dylan McGeoch will challenge him in my opinion. Sorry.
Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, I think he's like excellent cover. If obviously not to then now I'm not going to say Callum Guy is absolutely class now. I'm going to slate him 2 minutes later. But every time Callum Guy goes down, you're a bit like, oh no, this could be bad. He always seems to get up, so hopefully he continues to do that. But he does throw himself into a tackle guy, and then he stays down. You're like, oh, this could be bad. But I think he's superb cover for that sort of defensive midfield role. More defense. Obviously, Callum Guy plays centre mid, but he's more of a holding midfielder.
Yeah.
And I think his experience as well. Obviously, he's played for Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen. There's some big clubs in there. And as you say, obviously, to go in January and not only get player of the season, but to get club captain. Yes, maybe shows problems with Forest Green, but speaks volumes of Dylan to be able to go in and sort of just take charge of it all. And hopefully, if he needs to come in, he can do that with us. And he brings that extra sort of, he's a leader and we've got Huntington. We've got Callum Guy was our captain. He's like a leader without the armband. I think Callum Guy's actually better without the armband.
Oh yes, yeah,
Sam
great.
Lavelle has got that leadership quality. I can't say for sure, but I imagine Joe Maguire's got a bit of leadership about him. Joey Garner's got leadership. So I think he fits
Yeah,
into that sort of position of he's an experienced player and he can guide the sort of younger players. So yeah, I think I went with 6 out of 10, which after my analysis there maybe could be higher, but uh, I think we've got a good one there for sure. And obviously he came in sort of quite early, so there was
yeah. It was
obviously
one of the first one we managed to pull off.
yeah,
So he's had a full pre-season.
yeah, which is always good. Um, but I think if Callum Guy was ever not to start, and I seen I'm going to say Dylan because I'm going to butcher his second name now. But if we see Dylan in the starting lineup, I wouldn't be too like I wouldn't be like, oh my god, why is he
It wouldn't be the
starting
end of
type
the
of thing.
world. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, no. So I think we'll average it a sort of 6.5 there. I went with a 7, you went with a 6, but I think we'll give him that 6.5. Last but hopefully not least, and certainly last in terms of who we signed, bang on deadline day and our deadline
live
for
stream.
this. Oh, yes, yes,
Yeah,
quite the stream.
yeah.
I'm not ginger for those watching.
No.
But
Do you
yeah,
reckon we could get 180 for this video as well?
100, yeah, no, don't see why not. 180 may come sometime in the next 20 years if I keep throwing every single day.
Few more live streams.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, last it's Josh Coyote. Definitely a familiar face, but we don't really know too much about him from the time he spent away from the club. I've given him an 8 out of 10 just because he's what we needed,
Yeah,
but I'm not really sure. He didn't have the best season last season. But I think especially with being so familiar with the club, I think he is just what we need. That sort of target man to maybe replace Luke Plange and go with our very strong front two of Coyote and Maguire.
yeah. I've went one up and went with a 9 out of 10. I just think we needed it, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, we're going to sign this person, we're going to sign this one," and it was like, "No, we wanted Coyote," and then we went in for Coyote. We've signed him. It was simple as that. He'd
Yeah,
obviously. I was watching the interview with Simo, and he was saying that he spoke to him in the morning, and Josh was saying that no, I'm coming to Carlisle. I don't listen to anything else. I'm coming to Carlisle, which obviously shows he
yeah,
wants to be here. And is this his third loan deal with us?
it
Um,
is. Yeah,
so he's definitely a familiar face. He definitely wants to be here, but I just think he adds that quality as well. He's quite tall for I'd say he's quite fast, but he's quite tall for how fast he is. Um, and he's just he brings a bit of difference to the other strikers for me. I think he's trying to get the right word for it. He's got that sort of the pace, the power, and the height to win headers, but he also knows where the back of the net is, which obviously you want your strikers to to know where the back of the net is. But
yeah,
I know I'm happy with this one, and I think him wanting to be here, and it's not a sort of a deadline day panic where we've just signed some randomer who doesn't really want to be here. Obviously, he wants to be here. And the game against Shrewsbury, he was taking selfies with fans in the fan zone, and then he did the halftime blues draw and stuff. So it was straight away involved the next day. Obviously, I don't know if he came up on Friday night or Saturday or however it would have worked, but the day after he signed, he was in Brunton Park, bringing a liveliness about himself to the club. And I think the game against Accrington, obviously, we not to go on that game and be like, he had a great game here, so I expect him now for the rest of the season. But I thought he was quality in that first half against Accrington. It was quite the partnership with him and the Blade for me. I thought was quite refreshing to see because obviously last year we had Dennis, the year before we had Dennis and sort of Saw Silver, not the fastest type of players, and this year we've got like a real burst of pace, which for me is quite nice to see. It's a bit different. So yeah, I'm happy with JJ back in the squad.
yeah. Look, he just adds that extra sort of option up top. I think he'll probably be first. He'll be first choice come the end of this season. Whether he starts on Saturday, or I suppose tomorrow it'll be now, but I'm not sure, but I think he'll slowly be integrated into the first team to eventually be our first choice strike partnership with him and Maguire.
Absolutely, I
Um,
agree there.
the only problem is with this transfer is that, Paul Simpson even mentioned they tried to get him on a permanent deal first. That didn't happen. He signed a new deal at Barnsley and it is only a loan deal, which, it seems a lot of these signings have been. But,
Yeah,
he's going to come in, he's going to do well for us, I think. He knows the club. Obviously it's a very different circumstance from when he came in last time. Last time we were fighting at the top of League Two. Now we're in a relegation battle in League One. Well, so, maybe not a relegation battle quite yet, but we're at that end of the table in League One.
yeah,
But he's got a very different challenge on his hands, and I think he'll handle it well. But it's still yet to be seen.
yeah.
But yeah,
He played during COVID as well, did he not? If I'm
he did.
right in saying that.
Yes, yeah, I remember him playing. It was him, Gimme Toure, and Patrick, and it was them boys, wasn't it? It was the Beach Boys, them that kind of time when we were playing beach ball. I remember
Missy
playing
Beach.
yeah, I remember playing Southend in that sort of. It was one of they opened it as like a trial after COVID, like I think they let 1,000 fans in and they just
Yeah.
let season ticket holders in. I remember being at that game and seeing him and Gimme Toure playing. It's weird memories of Josh Coyote. He gave me one of my best memories of he scored in the last minute away at Mansfield to equalise the game, which was, it's a memory that'll stay with me forever. So he's already got that credit with the fans, Coyote, and it's going to be interesting to see how he copes with coming back and copes with playing in League One, which I think he did a little bit last season with MK Dons, but was largely ruled out through injury with parts of that, as far as I understand. But yeah, he's certainly an interesting one. And look, we'll have to come back to this video at the end of the season to see how wrong our predictions have been. When Dan Butterworth scored 25 goals and Finback's been injured for the whole season. That's the way these kind of videos tend to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
that concludes our 12 signings. Obviously, if you haven't watched part one of this video over on the CU04 channel, that video will be in the link in the description. And let's be honest, you probably already subscribed to him anyways. But yeah, thank you for watching the video. Thank you for coming on the channel.
No problem. Thanks for coming on my channel. And if we can do this again in the future, that would be awesome.
Yeah, well, like I said, we'll have to come back to this video and see how wrong we were in the future. But yeah, look, that concludes the 6 signings we're going over on this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree with us. Let me know in the comments if you agree that we are terribly wrong in all of our predictions. But yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.